Hello and welcome to today's edition of Mining Corner, your gateway to the latest developments happening in the country's mining sector. Today we look at environmental, social and governance, ESG in the mining sector. And as you know, and you agree with me that the mining sector is extractive in nature and thus has significant environmental and social impacts. And as such, ESG considerations are becoming increasingly important for mining companies, investors and communities. Now, ZCCMIH does recognize the importance of ESG in the mining sector and is committed to responsible mining practices within its portfolio. My name is Brian Mlamba, your host for the show this beautiful day. Now, we will delve into discussing what I said earlier on. And joining me in the studio is Mr. Constantino Mwembela. He is a manager environmental assessments at the Zambia Environmental Management Agency, ZEMA. It's good to have you on the program, sir. Yeah,
I'm glad to be here, Brian. Thank you so much.
How is ZEMA doing?
ZEMA is all right, thank you.
Always in hand.
Yeah, sure.
To ensure that the environment is protected. Now, let's talk about, one of the talking points that goes with the mining sector, and maybe it's a concern, is the fact that there is some land degradation and water pollution that comes with mining activities. How is ZEMA working with mining companies to mitigate the environmental effects that come with mining?
Thank you so much, Brian. The Zambia Environmental Management Agency is an agency that is set up by the Act of Parliament, and we have the Environmental Management Act, number 12 of 2011, that governs our operations. So with regard to mining companies to mitigate the environmental impact, we have in place statutory instrument number 28 of 1997 that governs the conduct of environmental impact assessment. So environmental impact assessment is a study that is undertaken by a developer that may have a project that may impact the environment negatively. So with regard to land degradation, so at the start of the mining operations, we expect mining entities to carry out an environmental impact assessment. So that study will detail what the project is about, the positive impacts of that project, as well as the negative impacts. Among them is the land degradation. Yep. So within that report, the company is expected to provide mitigation measures against such. For instance, land degradation, there are aspects of loss of vegetation. So the mining companies may propose maybe to work closely with the forest department and perhaps carry out afforestation activities on another land that is not degraded. Yeah. Because if you lose out all that land, we may have negative impacts. Among them is also climate change. So to mitigate, the entities would carry out an environmental impact assessment. And this process is a very participatory process that involves a huge number of stakeholders, right from the communities that may be impacted, as well as an assessment of the biodiversity in the area. So, and then at operation stage, ZEMA also is mandated to license mining firms. So with regard to water pollution, we have in place the Environmental Management Licensing Regulation, which is statutory instrument number 112 of 2013. So there are standards that an entity that discharges wastewater that they're supposed to meet. Yeah. So within that SI, the standards are stipulated, and ZEMA's role is to enforce that these standards are adhered to. And in a case where an entity does not adhere, we also have within the Environmental Management Act the provisions for compliance mechanisms. One such is if an entity is licensed by us, we may issue them what we call an environmental compliance order. That order will compel them to comply with the conditions that we may state. All right. Yeah, sure.
Interesting. But I'd like us to dwell more on, new mining projects. vis-a-vis ZEMA's role in terms of environmental impact assessments. Would you care just to run us through what transpires when it comes to new mining projects and environmental impact assessments?
Yeah, thank you so much, Brian. For a new mining project, because a mining project may have adverse impacts on the environment, so it is cardinal that prior to execution of such projects, an environmental impact assessment is done. So ZEMA's role is to see the overall coordination of the environmental impact assessment process. And the process is participatory, so it, among other things, involves ZEMA, upon receipt of maybe a final environmental impact assessment from the mining firm that wants to develop a mine, to consult interested and affected parties. This also includes communities around the area where the project is. And not only that, there are also other government institutions such as the Mine Safety Department, which is key on mining projects. So we would also request for comments from such entities, and then they would give us their comments. Then ZEMA has a committee that is called the Environmental Assessment Committee, which has eminent people from different government institutions as well as civil society. So that committee is the one that is responsible for making a decision. So the agency would make a recommendation. If a project is approved, then that project will have conditions that will govern the safe implementation of that project, so that it does not harm the environment nor harm human health in the area where that project is taking place. So those are the environmental safeguards that we have in place. So they are aimed to maximize the positives, and also for the negative impacts, the proponents proposes the mitigation measures so that those adverse impacts are minimized. All right.
And do the mining companies, mining firms, embrace these laws that you've shared?
Yes, certainly. Yeah, we have increasingly a number of mining firms that are coming up, and all of which are required by law to, prior to starting such operations, to undertake an environmental impact assessment. And beyond the impact assessment, we also have requisite licenses at operational stage, like you had alluded to earlier, the aspect of water pollution. So mining firms, by their operations, especially if it's a processing one, they use a lot of water, and that water has to be discharged into the environment. So in doing so, there are limits that are set in the statutory instrument number 112 of 2013. So ZEMA would also issue a license to such an entity so that they comply with the conditionalities that are set.
All right.
Yeah, so, and beyond that, we also carry out routine inspections and audits, just to ensure that the compliance is adhered to.
So it's possible that somebody may, or a firm may apply for a license, but because the needs, so to speak, of the environmental impact assessment have not been met, you can deny such kind of an applicant the license, can't you?
Certainly. Yeah. Section 29 of the Environmental Management Act has provided, and where a company has failed to provide adequate mitigation, that's reason enough for the agency to deny such an application. And other than that, if the implementation of a project will bring about adverse impacts, the agency would not give such a proposal a go-ahead. And if it also contravenes any written law, so the agency is governed, like I mentioned, by the Environmental Management Act of 2011, as read together with the Amendment Act of number 8 of 2023. So those laws help us to make sound decisions.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
And talking about sound decisions, I mean, you mentioned on several occasions, I lost count at some point, but the fact that you engage members of the community, in assessing, an application. How important are they in ensuring that you serve them better, so to speak?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You see, these developments do not happen in a vacuum. They happen within a space. And with that environment, there are people that are living there. So it is very important that when an impact assessment is conducted, first and foremost, the entity that is doing that must get to hear the concerns of the community around there, and then provide for mitigation measures. So an EIA process has within its process mechanism at the beginning. For a very large project, there's what we call a scoping meeting that is organized by the proponent, and the idea for that meeting is for the proponent to interact with interested or affected persons. So there would be communities that maybe have a livelihood in there, and in certain cases there may be need to displace such communities. But then in case of a displacement, there is also yet another study that is done, what is called the resettlement action plan, which will clearly outline who will be impacted and how they will be compensated, because you have to relocate such persons so that you can carry out your mining in a sound and safe manner.
All right. So what else are you doing to ensure that the environmental governance within the mining sector is both inclusive and considers the interests of marginalized groups like women and young people?
Yeah, so through the same process, the environmental impact assessment, it is a very participatory process. It requires us to consult other agencies of government. For example, if it's going to have a displacement, the resettlement department becomes key, and also the government valuation department for structures that may be affected. So such entities are consulted. So the environmental impact assessment is very participatory. So with the input of other stakeholders, ZEMA ensures that we have safeguards that will help the self-implementation of a project without a project adversely impacting. And also, this program we are on, Brian, is also a very good avenue for us to raise awareness amongst the general public of what we do and the safeguards that are there to protect the community at large.
The takeaway point from this interaction, what's that one thing that you want our viewers to remain with as we end this interaction? Yeah,
so we have, I think our president has mentioned, we want to increase our production to 3 million metric tons. So in doing so, there will be impact. So I would like also to urge the mining firms and others out there that it's cardinal that you carry out an environmental impact study, because that is very beneficial. It will help you and protect your investment. So it's cardinal that an environmental impact assessment is done. And for community, it's also important that they effectively participate in scoping meetings and in these interactions. And beyond the jobs, it's also good to bring out other issues of concern that they may have, so that the proponents are able to mitigate adequately. I think that's what I would say, Brian, to the public out there.
All right, you're still watching Mining Corner, and we're still having a very interesting conversation, with Mr. Constantino Mwembela, who is Manager Environmental Assessments at the Zambia Environmental Management Agency, ZEMA. Now, let's take you to a very interesting feature in terms of the country's mining sector. This time we take you to CNMC Luanshya Copper Mines, a mining company in which ZCMH holds a 20% equity stake. And this mine was in the news because recently it did embark on dewatering Shaft 28. Let's take a look.
Luanshya Copper Mines is one of the oldest mines in the country that has been in operation since 1927. China Non-Ferrous Metals Mining Corporation, CNMC, began operating the mine in 1998. This was the first project to signal the Zambia-China relationship. In 2008, shafts 14, 18 and 28 were decommissioned owing to various challenges at the time, and only Baluba mine remained in operation.
This mine traditionally ran 3 shafts. Of course, later they became 4 with the addition of Baluba underground mine. Over the years, most of the reserves had actually been depleted. So at the time CNMC was taking over this mine in 2009, we only had one operating shaft, which was Baruba.
Over the years, Luanshya Copper Mines has been producing approximately 45 metric tons of copper. Once 28 shaft is actualized, the mine is expected to produce over 85,000 metric tons of copper. In 2023, CNMC committed a 5-year investment deal totaling $1.3 billion. Part of this investment, to the tune of $600 million will be channeled to the reopening of Shaft 28 at the Luanshya Copper Mine.
We drilled extra holes up to 2,800 to increase the reserve and look at the reserve in its totality. So we are sitting at a reserve that will take us for a minimum of 20 years. It therefore became viable to invest in this project.
The reopening of Shaft 28 is a milestone after 22 years, given government's target of 3 million metric tons annual copper production. This is no mean achievement, as CNMC boasts of impeccable technological advancement employed in its mining operations.
This is a mine that will come with its own concentrator, meaning that it will have its own treatment plant. And that is also huge. It's important for the mine to have its own treatment plant.
The benefits of reopening of Shaft 28 will not only lead to increased copper production, but will create local employment. Currently, 4,000 additional jobs are expected to be created.
This is a huge project, especially for the social and economic development of this town of Luanshya. Remember that once reopened at its peak, 28 shaft will create about 3,000 jobs. The ratios are between 1,800 direct jobs and 1,200 contractor jobs.
Coupled with favorable projected global commodities fundamentals, the future of Luanshya Copper Mines is bright. CNMC Luanshya Copper Mines, once fully dewatered, is estimated to hold a total of 1.2 million tons of copper, with an operational lifespan of 20 to 25 years at full capacity. This is Mining Corner.
And so after that very important conversation, let's move on now and interest you to what is making up our news, both on the local front and, of course, on the global front, in 60 seconds of our news. That is our mining news in 60 seconds. Hope you've been informed of what's happening on the local front and, of course, on the international scale. Let's move on the program now. And we know for a fact that there's one feature that is very exciting on the show. That's a quiz. So let's interest you to what the questions are. And then when we get back, we've got a very special arrangement in the studio. A draw is going to be conducted, so you'll find out whether or not you got the questions correct and whether or not you won one of the prizes that comes with getting the answers correct when it comes to our quiz. Welcome back, and I'm honored to have a very special guest in the studio. She's appearing for the very first time on the show. Loisa Mbata joins me, Corporate Affairs Manager at ZCMIH. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you, Brian, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and you hit the screens, you've got some good stuff to give to our viewers.
Good stuff indeed,
Yeah.
and thank you so much to all the participants during the past shows that we've had in the past about 8 weeks so far.
Yeah.
And today we're doing a draw on a set of questions that we posted on our social media page.
All right.
So the questions.
And you know what's interesting is that the response and the participation of our viewers has been very overwhelming, hasn't it?
It has been overwhelming and very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, somebody had posted to say, why don't you do a live draw like people, you know, because people will Google and find the answers. And even if we have Google and AI, people have been filling the questions. So it's an interesting one. So we've had overwhelming responses, interesting responses from people, just for people to get to know more about ZCCMIH and its operations.
All right.
Yeah.
So we go into the questions, or you give me the answer directly? You want me to?
Yeah, okay, no, I can give the questions. We had 3 questions. The first one was mention a hospital and a school which is run under Mopani Corporate Social Responsibility. You know, Mopani is in Quito and Mufrila. So the answer was, or is, Wusakile Mine Hospital, and there's Malcolm Watson Hospital, and also Mopani Copper Mines in Kana School, and Mopani Copper Mines Mufulira School. So if you indicated any of these answers, you'll be one of the winners. Secondly, what is ZCCMIH's shareholding interest in Konkola Copper Mines PLC? So Konkola Copper Mines is based in Chililabombwe, where there's an open pit and the smelter, and also in Chililabombwe, where there's the Konkola Dip project. So our shareholding there is 20.6%. This one was an easy one. All right. Okay. So the third question was, who is ZCCMIH's investment partner in NFC Africa Mining? So NFC Africa Mining is in Chambishi. They are one of our associate investee companies. So the answer for this one is CNMNC. CNMC. If you got those answers correct and the various options provided under question 1, then you are in this for the draw.
So Fox, fingers crossed, because now I want to do the draw. I know you're itching to be picked. All right. So let's get up and running. You want to shake it a bit?
Yes, so we're going to shake it. So it's all wrapped up. So
it's transparent.
Yes, the transparency for transparency's sake. So I'm going to pick up the first name. So we're going to pick up 3 names. Okay. And the first one being Washington Subisiso Sanga.
Oh, wow. Congratulations,
so Washington Subisiso is the first winner.
Yeah.
We go to the next one again. We'll scramble and then get 1. Yeah. The next winner is Mumba Ngandwe. That's our second winner.
All right.
And the last. We'll get to the last. And it's Kalunga Mupeta Chisanga.
Kalunga, Mumba, and Washington, right?
And Washington.
Excellent.
Yes.
Congratulations. How did they get the prizes?
So the prizes, we've been calling the winners, and in interesting and exciting prizes. We have notebooks, the shirts, the T-shirts, the caps, and the overall. So these winners, what's going to happen at the end of this show, which is sometime early next year, we'll do another draw.
At the end of the series?
Yes, at the end of the series. Yeah. And we'll be able to give out interesting a visit to one of the mines. And we have Kariba Minerals, which will also be giving some pieces, jewelry pieces. Wow. This is one of them. This is an amethyst, real stone. Wow. So these will be part of the final prizes. All right. Excellent. At the end of the series.
So those who have won?
So those who are winning right now, they're getting like diaries, a notebook, a cap, a shirt from ZCCM, and also we'll be getting some more from, say, Mopani, Kariba, and Zambia Gold. So those are some of the things. And
there's not a chance to win bigger prizes at the end of the series?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing. Thanks for coming through, Loisa.
Thank you.
And wish you the best of luck. Are you the one who does prepare these questions?
Well, the team does.
That's what comes through, Loisa.
Thank you.
We're back again next week at the same time. My name is Brian Mulamba. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.